And on Triple J, Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna are in the studio. Thank you very much for coming in. It's very exciting to have such rock and roll royalty on Triple J in my first week back on air.
Thank you so much. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, definitely, Doc.
It is great. Now, I was just saying off air that we have a mutual friend, Fat Mike from NoFX, that you guys have hung around with a little bit. When was the last time that you saw him?
You know, I haven't seen him now for a couple of years. We did the Warped Tour with them in 2006. And, oh my God, is he funny? I mean, he is just so hysterical with his raps. I was so amused. Because he says things and you think... I mean, sometimes he really takes the piss out of the audience and they eat it up. And it's just kind of funny.
Well, almost literally. Did you see what he did at South by Southwest last year when he got everyone doing shots of tequila, and then he showed a video of him pissing in the tequila bottle before
No, but I totally believe it.
It turns out he may have swapped tequila bottles, so it may have been an untainted bottle. But anyway, we digress. We don't need to talk about NoFX. That was last month. This month is Joan Jett and the Blackhearts month, because you guys have been kicking ass on the Australian festival circuit to so many people, but there would be people there who wouldn't have seen you guys, before, or really even heard of you even, except for the Runaways movie that came out last year. Now, what was it like seeing someone's version of your life in a movie?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, you have to remember, because I lived it, there's two separate sections in my head to the whole thing. There's the story that the screenwriter wrote, and then there's the performance by the actual actors and what they did with what they were given. The movie, I think, gives you a sense of what it was like to be in the Runaways. There was a lot more to the story, though, obviously, and you can't put it all in there. But as far as Kristen Stewart's performance and her becoming me, I was blown away by it. I mean, I hung out with her the whole time. I was on set every day. She had a chance to really observe me, and she was watching me like a hawk, taking in everything, my posture, the way I stretch, the way I move through space. And I think in a way, we're kind of similar off screen, just in our own selves, kind of nervous energy, legs moving all the time. So I think some of it was natural. We're similar, but I think that she really wanted to do an incredible job. She felt pressure because she knew that it was a real band and there were real people attached to it and a certain legacy. She wanted to do right by it. And Dakota wanted to do the same with Cherie. Michael Shannon, the guy who played Kim Fowley, had a chance to meet Kim. We got together at a Denny's restaurant, which is kind of like
the actual Kim
coffee
Fowley.
Shop. Yeah, the actual Kim Fowley. And Kim and I are still really good friends, and it was just hysterical to watch Kim and Mike interact, and I think Michael Shannon really pulled it off.
I'm talking to Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna, long-time songwriting partner of the Blackhearts and Joan Jett. What about teaching them to play guitar? Because one of the things that I see in movies with people playing instruments is they always get it wrong, except in the Runaways they got it right. The hands were in vaguely the right positions.
Yeah, well, Kristen really plays guitar, and, we sat, and she would ask me how I play something. And
the amazing thing is that these girls were able to sing. Cherie and Joan hadn't been in a studio together for 30 years, and they did the guide vocals, and something clicked. It was a song, Don't Abuse Me, that Cherie said, I never sang that song, but we had a recording from 1976. It was
bootleg.
It wasn't recorded by the Runaways, but she'd done it, and then it started coming back to her, and then all of a sudden they clicked, and this magic happened, and Cherie and Joan were channeled right back to their teenage roots, and it was amazing, and the girls soaked it all up like sponges, and then they sang. As a matter of fact, Kristen Stewart did her demo, and she was so nervous for Joan to hear it, and Joan says, I can't hear her because you made my voice too loud, and it was Kristen. And so, and then Dakota actually never sang professionally before and learned to sing for this part. That's how talented these girls were.
It was a pretty wild experience, and it was very surreal.
Wow.
But overall, very positive, because what you just said, it gets the music back out there. Because I'm so proud of what the Runaways did, and happy that it's out there, even though it took 30 years and a movie to do it.
That's great. Well, I'm talking to Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna. Let's fast forward just a little bit to a first solo album, written by both of you guys, actually, on Triple J. This is Bad Reputation. On Triple J, that is Bad Reputation. Yes, we have Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna in the studio who wrote that song back in the very start of the 80s. Is that right?
79.
79.
Yeah, and it was inspired by the fact that people were resisting Joan as a recording artist. And the amazing thing is, the Runaways broke up. Mercury Records gave every single Runaway a record deal except Joan Jett. But they did us a favor because in the end, she'd actually gone with the Sex Pistols into a studio, and Polygram in Holland decided to put out a single. The B-side was I Love Rock and Roll. And then when I got with Joan, we went in and negotiated a deal to buy back the rights to I Love Rock and Roll for $2,300, which was the recording cost. And Polygram's been my bitch for 35 years.
That's right. It wasn't there like 23 record labels that said no to Joan Jett?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We got all the rejection letters still. Interesting artist, but I don't hear any songs. You need a song search. She should lose the guitar,
And not wear black, maybe? People were suggesting that?
Oh, I'm sure they, sort of behind the words, they were saying, get her some tits and stop wearing black,
Well, I don't remember that, but I do remember the head of Atlantic Records saying, maybe if she could stop hiding behind that guitar and get out and rock like Pat Benatar, we could sign her.
But you know what songs they turned down that they heard on that demo? Bad Reputation, I Love Rock and Roll, Crimson and Clover, and Do You Want to Touch Me? 4 hits.
It must feel good. I mean, it would have felt good, in those years to be able to turn around and stick your finger up and go, well, we were right.
Yeah, and it still feels good.
It makes so much sense. I'm talking to the godmother of punk. Joan Jett is in the studio today, playing her last show in Australia tonight. A very tiny show at the Annandale, which I'm afraid, of course, is sold out. And Kenny Laguna is in the studio as well. It's talking about that time. People say that you were, equally not taken seriously by the dudes in suits, but also being hated by feminists. And was it weird being someone so in command of your sexuality to have this weird relationship with people calling themselves feminists?
Well, certainly in the 70s, I think feminism sort of had a different tint. It was sort of like you couldn't be sexual. So on one level, the boys were saying we couldn't do it, and the girls are saying, where I'm coming from is like, you're a teenager, you want to form a band. We're all going through puberty. You want to think about sex. You want to think about partying. You want to think about going out. All those things are relevant to a growing teenager. To tell a teenage girl to cut off her sexuality and not think about it, not do anything just like the boys. And so you had it from one end of the guys saying you can't do it, and then you had the feminists saying, well, you're being sexual. You're using your body. The men are using you. No, we were doing it. We wanted to say these things. We wanted to get dirty in your face. We wanted to make people's faces red. When you're playing a guitar and you're singing these words, I think rock and roll is an aggressive thing. Pop music, not so much. In my view, it's pop music kind of says, do what you want to me. With rock and roll, you're on stage, you're commanding. I grew up, listening to Zeppelin with Robert Plant holding the mic down there, dirty stuff, the Stones with Sticky Fingers, with Jagger's penis on the cover. That's what rock and roll was throwing out there.
You toured with Aerosmith last year, and there's another guy very much in control of his sexuality.
I don't know what
Put it mildly. Tyler, he's like a walking penis. That's what he is.
But yes,
but you know what I'm saying? It's like either we had to be completely non-sexual, which make it okay with the 70s feminists, or bisexual, and the guys like that, and the feminists hated it. But we were just being us. We were doing what normal teenage girls do, but we had a platform, which was the stage. I
was talking to Kate Nash last year, and she says she's very influenced by the Riot Girl movement, which Kathleen Hanna and Bikini Kill kind of started. But they were in turn started by you, and you produced a bunch of that Bikini Kill stuff. It must have been great to be able to then see people so influenced by you doing such great stuff for rock and roll and for women, of course.
Oh, it was incredible, and they did take it to the next level. I think the Riot Girl movement and Kathleen Hanna, Bikini Kill, they took that sexual stuff that the Runaways weren't allowed to do, and stuck it even more so in people's faces. And they widened, I guess, the discussion to include things like, no means no, that kind of stuff for teenage girls and all these. And boy, she was one of the few people that could shut your mouth. Boy, you should have seen some of their sort of sparring was classic. I couldn't even do a sort of recital for you, but it was pretty funny.
I'm talking to Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna. Kathleen Hanna is going to shut your mouths and my mouth right now because we're going to listen to Demi Rep as produced by you, starting off with a little playground rap, I guess it would be, Miss Mary Mac. This is Bikini Kill. If you're wondering who we've been talking about, of course, became La Tigra on Triple J and Demi Rep. On Triple J, that was Demi Rep by Bikini Kill, as produced and co-starring Joan Jett, and they're quasi-managed by Kenny Laguna, who are both in the studio today. It's great. That last mic break was just 90s punk rock heaven for me. But let's fast forward to today because you have been, by all reports, kicking ass on the festival circuits around Australia. I don't get to see you till tonight at the Annandale, but there was one moment at the Falls Festival around about midnight where someone didn't have a watch on stage, I believe. Now, what happened?
Well, but I'm a Virgo, so I like to be prepared, and I would never be caught like that. So I'm always like going, you guys let me know the song before. I want to know 3 minutes before countdown so I know and I can stop. Mm-hmm. So, it's just like one of those funny things. And so we counted down and had the original midnight when the audience got the real one, and then I said, we got to do this again because they're filming it anyway.
Joan Jett.
But it was we had a chance to count it down again with the audience again and send it. I said you're being filmed, and so we're going to send this around the world. So we got a kick out of it. Yeah.
I'm talking to Joan Jett, the godmother of punk, and Kenny Laguna. You guys have been doing this circuit. There's so many great bands on the bill. Peaches is doing the DJ set. Sleigh Bells, Lady Hawk, Marina and the Diamonds. What have you seen in terms of live shows in the last year, or a song that you reckon is absolutely killer from the last year?
Well, I can speak to a tour that we were on, actually, which was the Green Day tour in Europe. So I'd say that show was something I could speak to.
Something else
or the Hives. I love the Hives.
They had their own thing.
That.
Yeah, but the Hives were great. We thought they were amazing. But for me personally, Doctor, I think that the modern rock star is overeducated and exposes too much. So we just haven't been able to have a rock and roll band that can carry the torch that the Who and the Stones and people like that started going,
Mm-hmm. But then there's Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Yeah, well, we do what we can.
Right, and you're doing it tonight at the Annandale. It's a sold-out show. I'm absolutely stoked to have you guys on the show. This has been such a good week. I came in on Tuesday for my first show back, and Chuck D from Public Enemy was on, and I get to bookmark it with Joan Motherflippin' Jett. It is a damn good week. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys at the Annandale tonight, and have a great time. We'll see you guys soon.
Can't wait to meet you.
It's the Doctor, Triple J.